and welcome back, RosterWatch Nation. This is your friendly neighborhood trash man, and you are watching The Garbage Grab on behalf of RosterWatch.com, where we have all the fantasy information you'll ever need to dominate your leagues from the draft throughout the playoffs. Today, I'm going to switch things up a little bit. I've had themes, so to speak, for my first 10 installments on RosterWatch.com's YouTube page. I'm going to switch things up today. It won't be a theme so much as just a general look at some of the goings on over this past weekend in the NFL, because a lot of things have happened. So let's go ahead and get started with the first and foremost bit of information, and you probably can tell what I'm going to be bringing up, and that is the retirement of Andrew Luck at the age of 29. He's hanging up the shoes, hanging up the helmet. Maybe Antonio Brown could use his. Either way, Andrew Luck is no longer a member of the Indianapolis Colts, no longer a member of the NFL. He said he was mentally worn down, and his body was worn down as well, if you couldn't tell. There had been speculation all preseason about numerous injuries that he's sustained over the past year or two. He hadn't practiced all summer. He was dealing with a mysterious calf or ankle issue, something to deal with the lowered leg. In any case, I guess during this time he was mulling it all over, and apparently the Colts knew before this weekend that he was going to hang it up, and they did something really sweet. They could have gotten a lot of the money back from the deal that Luck had most recently signed, but they're giving him his money and letting him walk away. I don't know that many businesses that work that way, but I'd like it. He's been with them a long time. In Luck's stead is going to be Jacoby Brissett. Oh, and all you T.Y. Hilton, Marlon Mack, Paris Campbell owners have to be shaking in your boots right now, because you don't really know what's going to happen. Actually, Marlon Mack owners may actually be breathing a little bit of sigh of relief, as maybe, you know, they're going to give the ball a lot more to Marlon Mack now. And maybe Nyheim Hines too gets more in the mix now too. So that's good news for him. But in any case, I don't really think it's good news for anybody on the Colts, as Jacoby Brissett, he was a good backup. He is a good backup, but he's not what I would call a franchise quarterback. Last season, well, actually in the 2017 season, Brissett was a 16-game starter for the Colts, completed fewer than 60% of his passes, averaged 6.6 yards per attempt. He did run the ball quite a bit, which I guess is a silver lining there, if you're wanting to maybe add Brissett in some formats. And, you know, maybe another year or a year and a half under the belt there, he's improved marginally, but that's yet to be seen. All we can say right now is that it's not good news for any of the Colts offensive players that should be using in fantasy. Maybe Marlon Mack will salvage something. Maybe Nyheim Hines now will salvage something. Maybe Paris Campbell will be utilized a bit more, maybe just to try to stimulate that offense a bit. But you have to be kind of bummed if you're a T.Y. Hilton owner, because he is not going to have the year that he would have had with Andrew Luck under center. Moving on, Lamar Miller of the Houston Texans, ACL and MCL tear. He's gone for the season, and maybe longer, unfortunately. He's a good guy. Not a great running back, but he's a good guy. Lamar Miller will be replaced, initially at least, by Duke Johnson, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, who's brought in this preseason. We thought he was going to be a PPR monster. Well, not monster, but at least he'd be productive in PPR formats behind Lamar Miller, and that Texans offense is going to have to get the ball out of Deshaun Watson's hands quickly with that piss poor offensive line there in Houston. And now Duke Johnson's going to get even more action. So if you picked him up between now and then, kudos to you, because it's going to pay off. You have to expect that the Texans are going to bring somebody else in to help buffer that loss. But as things stand right now, Duke Johnson is the beneficiary of Lamar Miller going down. Although that is an unfortunate event, we never wish ill will on any player, unless it's the championships and we're playing against them. Then they can pretty much have anything happen to him short of death, and you'll be thrilled about it. But we're not feeling that way right now about Lamar Miller. We are stoked for Duke Johnson's chances, though. So if you haven't picked him up, pick him up quickly. And if you haven't drafted him, draft him above his ADP, because he's probably going to go higher than that from this point on. Up next, we have maybe my favorite son of RosterWatch, and that is Josh Gordon of the New England Patriots. Gordon has been activated from the NFI list. It's time to rev him up, take him out of the garage, shine him up, wax him up. Gordon returning is great news for Tom Brady and company. Great news for us that love Josh Gordon, because also the Patriots have just released wide receiver Maurice Harris, so that's good news for Josh Gordon. Also, N'Keal Harry is dealing with ankle and hamstring and toe injuries right now, so he may not even start the season. So that's more good news for Josh Gordon. If you needed more good news for Josh Gordon, to pick him up in your league, which I don't think you do. He's a little bit older now, but he's still, in my opinion, one of the top 5 receivers in the league, if we're comparing. So pick up Josh Gordon. He's going to pay off for you. Tom Brady loves him. And really, the Patriots just don't have that many healthy options in their wide receiver core right now. And they got no Gronk. So that's just more action, potentially, for Gordon in the red zone. After Josh Gordon coming back, it's more Ezekiel Elliott news. You got a nice picture of him there in his halter top tuxedo. There is no deal right now for Elliott in the Cowboys, but Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones remains very optimistic that the team will get a deal done by week 1. I'm optimistic too. He's their best player, and as much as they want to give the appearance that they're not going to pay the guy, they have to, don't they? They have to. Right now, Elliott is in Mexico working out with Marshall Faulk, something that I would have never thought I would say on active air, but that is indeed what is happening. There were rumors that Elliott was coming back to Dallas to sign a contract this weekend, but he was just coming back because he had some time to come back. In any case, no deal yet, but it looks like it's getting closer. There looks to be a little sun through the clouds, and I hope so, because a lot of RosterWatch Nation owns Ezekiel Elliott right now. And if you don't, pick up Tony Pollard, because there's a pretty good chance that he's going to get quite a bit of action if this does not happen anytime soon. Another running back who is not signed, in fact, he was released, is Doug Martin, formerly of the Raiders. He was competing for a backup role behind rookie Josh Jacobs anyway, but he seems to have he obviously lost that out to DeAndre Washington. Now, this is interesting because, not really that Martin's been released, That's not really that interesting. I'm sure someone will pick him up as a backup. Maybe the Texans, in fact. But the fact that DeAndre Washington is the backup to Josh Jacobs, a largely unproven commodity for the Raiders. DeAndre Washington has been utilized in the past for the Raiders. He's a little bit more of a known commodity there for him. He can catch passes. So if things aren't working out with Jacobs, or they just want to spell him more, DeAndre Washington looks to be that guy. So he looks to have immediate potential, especially in PPR formats. So if you got an extra roster spot at the end of your bench, pick him up, add him. He could end up paying off for you. Just the kind of news that us garbage grab aficionados love to hear. After Doug Martin's release, we have Case Keenum of the Redskins being named as the Week 1 starter. It's not a huge surprise here. We kind of thought that Keenum would be the guy, especially with Colt McCoy being injured and Dwayne Haskins being a rookie. It may be just to kind of put a fire under Dwayne Haskins for the first week or two. But Case Keenum, he started games before. He's been decent before. He's been pretty good before in the NFL, especially with the Vikings. But the Redskins offense is without Trent Williams, and they are arguably one of the worst offensive lines in the league. So maybe this is a good thing for Dwayne Haskins not to get thrown under the bus so quickly. Anyways, Case Keenum looks to be the guy who's going to be starting under the center for the Redskins. Doesn't look like that exciting of a passing offense, but I guess in either 2 quarterback leagues or if you need a backup, Case Keenum could be picked up in a pinch. Say that 3 times fast. Up next, we have arguably my preseason news favorite, and that is Antonio Brown here with a hairstyle that I don't know the name for. It's some kind of flat top. If you can think of a good name for it, maybe add it in the comments. Let me know, because I'd be really curious what you had to say about it. Anyway, Pro Football Talk reports that Antonio Brown will pick up a helmet soon and that he's close to an endorsement deal. He's lost his second helmet grievance of this offseason, but it looks like he's actually going to find a helmet that works for him, that the league approves of, and he's going to join the Raiders. I think this might have been employed just to get attention for the Raiders in this offseason, to get him in the news, and to get Antonio Brown in the news, continue to. But also, maybe just to keep him off the field for a little while longer, keep some of that tread on the tires, which really you can't blame him for, especially if you're wanting to depend on him in fantasy. So if you were worried about Brown, worry no more. I think he's this close to being back in full force, so draft him as you would normally. Some other trashy news, the kind that I love. Bengals wide receiver Damian Willis will start at the X while AJ Green is sidelined with an ankle injury. Willis is an undrafted free agent. He's a rookie. So we really haven't seen what he's capable of, but he seems to be capable of a starting spot for the Bengals. And that's with John Ross returning to the fold. Willis has good size. He's 6'3", 201 pounds. He's got a 4.5 40. And in his senior year in college, he had 876 yards and 10 touchdowns. So maybe, just maybe, he's the kind of guy that you can pick up at the end of your drafts, and then he's going to pay off for you big, at least while AJ Green is out. As much as a receiver can pay off big for you, as much as a Cincinnati Bengals receiver can pay off big for you, who isn't named Tyler Boyd. Anyways, he's the kind of guy that I would want to pick up, put on my bench, just to see what might happen. And more football news. Hakeem Butler of the Arizona Cardinals has been put on injured reserve, ending his rookie season. He had a serious finger injury. It sounded disgusting what happened to him. I know, like the tendon came off the bone, something that was warranting a season-ending injury designation. So it's a bummer for Butler. It was a guy we were excited about coming into the draft. I guess this makes things a little bit nicer for Andy Isabella and Keyshawn Johnson, someone who I really liked this preseason and looks to be moving up moving up the depth chart in Arizona. Johnson, I'm speaking of. So both Isabella and Johnson are guys you can pick up late in your drafts and hope that they do pay off early and often in this NFL season. It does look like Kyler Murray is starting to get his legs under him in the NFL, so that's a good sign for them too. And last, not has announced he is returning from retirement today. Harbin is 31. He left the NFL mid-season during the 2016 season due to migraines. We know about his migraine history. Right now, he's fully healthy. Doesn't seem to be suffering from migraines, but he has been playing in the NFL and getting hit. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure somebody will take a look at him. Why not? He was a utility knife that was worth using in the NFL when he was not suffering from multiple migraines throughout the season. Anyways, just a little bit of trashy information I thought you guys might like to hear. This has been the Garbage Grab. This is the Trash Man on behalf of RosterWatch.com. Until next time, be ready.